Hello class, welcome to a Room 222 Photoshop tutorial. Today's project is checking out the Hue and Saturation features in Adobe Photoshop. This one is going to be a fairly quick one. There's going to be others that are going to add on to this, but this is just the initial project or the initial tutorial to get you started. So what we're going to be doing is taking an original image and then we're going to change the hue and saturation to make the colors pop. So first off, I have this valley photo that I did. So here's the original. It's kind of dull looking, and then here's the altered with a lot of hue and saturation changed to it. It's almost too saturated, but for this project, I kind of want it more on the saturated side than not to get what we're looking for. I also did one with my dog Scout. So here's little Scout. This is the original picture, and then this is the altered. So I just cropped it down and I added some saturation to it to bring out the yellow, to make it a little bit more golden looking. Alright, so I'm going to minimize these. What you're going to be doing is actually the valley picture, and then so you'll do what I do, and then you're going to do your own choice one. So let's start. Let's open up Photoshop. And under Useful Tools, Photoshop Tools and Resources, Stock Photos, and Landscape, you're going to select Valley 2. And so now what we're going to do is go to our Hue and Saturation Adjustments, and it's going to open this up. And you're going to go from the master, and you're going to select a color that is fairly prominent in your picture. So I'm going to go with the greens. You're going to take your hue, and you're going to take it the whole way to the side, and you're going to take your saturation and the whole way to the right side. And see, it takes up some of the picture, but I want it to include more of the greens. So what I'm going to do is take this gray bar here that is in between these two rainbow color bars, and I'm going to stretch it out a little bit by clicking and dragging. And I'm just going to work around this so that I'm getting most of the image in which I want. I really want to highlight these green areas, so this is what I'm going to start with. So once you get it to about this area, so 131 degrees by 214 degrees, 59 degrees by 100 degrees, and it looks pretty close to this, you're going to click on the hue numbers and you're going to change it to 0. You're going to click on the saturation numbers and also change that to 0. And it's going to bring the color or the picture back to its original color. However, it's still holding on to what we saw down here. So now I'm going to click and drag the hue, and as you can see, it changes colors a little bit as you drag the hue. So I'm going to move it to a green looking color variation, and then I'm going to move my saturation right so that it makes the green pop. So as you can see, the more over you get of the saturation, the more crazy it looks, which is not what we want. We want it to look real. So I'm going to go around this area. And so now if I would go over to my little eye and make it invisible, I can see the change that I did. So now I want to continue adding to this picture. So what I'm going to do next, so you can always go, if you want to add a little bit more or just adjust it a little bit more, you could always just click and drag the hue and the saturation just a little bit. And again, you can look at it by clicking the eye and seeing the change in your photo. So now what I want to do, and you're going to do this as well, is hold down Control and select both of these layers, and I'm going to right click and select Merge Layers. And this starts us back to square one where we can add another adjustment, and it's going to affect the whole photo. So we're going to go back to Hue and Saturation. And now I want to use like this, or make this brownish area a little bit more of a pop. So for this, I'm going to go to the yellows, I think. Move it on over. Move it on over. And then again, I'm going to work this little gray bar to see what I can get. And again, I want it to be mostly of the tannish area, which is what it's selected right now. So this was the green that we selected and adjusted, and this is the green that we selected and adjusted, and which is what we don't want to touch. So once you have that reddish tannish area selected, you're going to take the hue back to 0 and the saturation back to 0 again. And then I'm going to take and drag the hue and see what I want to aim it at. I like the yellow feature, so that's where I'm going to stop. And I'm going to move the saturation bar. And now it makes my yellow pop a little bit. So again, if I get rid of this, it makes it look fairly dull, and now I have the yellow. I'm going to try and see if I can, so I'm going to combine these again by holding down Control and then right-clicking and selecting Merge Layers. I'm going to see if I can bring forth, see it's like a little bit of a blue hue. I'm going to try to bring that forth a little bit more as well. So we're going to bring the Hue and Saturation up. I'm going to select the blues, bring over the hue, bring over the saturation, and I want to make this so it's just really on that blue area up top, which looks like that. And now I'm going to bring this back to 0, bring this back to 0, oops, and then move my hue marker, see how I want to make it look. Let's bring over the saturation just a tad. There you go. So it kind of brings forth a little bit more of the green, but I like it. I think it looks better than what it did. Gives it a little bit brighter appearance. And so I would like you to do all 3 of these to the best of your ability. And again, you're going to merge these layers. And now we're going to save this as File, Save As, and you're going to label it as a JPEG, and you're going to call it Valley to Hue and Saturation. And save it somewhere that you can find it. You can save it to the desktop, you can save it to your folder. I'll save it to my folder. And we are going to then open up both of these. So I have this one. I'm going to open up the original. Please make sure you don't save over top of the original, because then it will ruin everything else. And then I'm going to open up a new canvas. And I would suggest these pictures are a little on the smaller side, so I would adjust making it like 6 and 8. And that will just help whenever you expand your pictures so you can see them. Okay, so now we're going to pull forth our first valley picture, drag it, drop it onto there, and then you can just get rid of this. And then you're going to pull forth your second one, drag and drop onto there, get rid of this one. And we're going to put our original layer up top. Again, if you hold down Shift and pull, it'll keep the dimensions. And press Enter, and then we're going to go to layer 2, hold down Shift and pull, keep the dimensions. And then I'm going to add 2 titles, one saying original image. Control T, transform it, make it smaller, make it fit. The font and the font color can be your own choosing. You do not have to pick what I pick. And they can be similar, the same, or different. I'm just going to use the same because it makes it easier. If I do Control J, it'll keep that same consistency of the font, and then do Control T and bring this one down. And then if I double click on it, I can change it to altered image. Press enter. And let's center it a little bit better. And then when you're done with this, you're going to go to File, Save As a JPEG in the Finished Projects folder under Quarter 3. Under Simple, Hue and Saturation. And then this one is going to be Mandatory Valley, and then you'll do a choice one as well. And again, I want both photos so I can see the difference myself, and you will label it as your name. Alright, if you have any questions, let me know, raise your hand. Okay, off you go.